So now that we've got our working environment set up, we're ready to start drawing. A few things we want to check. We want to make sure that we're on level 1, and you can see that referenced by this tab up on the top and or by looking at the project browser and seeing level 1 in bold. This is where we're going to draw our floor, which will be our which will work as our site for the buildings that we're going to be constructing shortly. So I'm ready to start drawing here, but the first thing as far as technique goes, you may want to save your file and get in the habit of it, and then Revit will automatically be making backups, so in case that there's an error or problem and the program crashes, your work will be partially saved. So I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to do a Save As function, and when I select it, it's going to ask me how I want to save it, and we do not want to save it as a template, we want to save it as a project. And I can cover the cloud model in that in other classes or lectures. So I've already called mine CV1 Start and put it into a folder where I'll be able to find it in the future. I've also placed it on a drive, and you may want to consider where you save your files. The best place to do it is on a shared file, your shared file that you can access from anywhere on campus. The only issue with that is that if you're off campus and you want to work on a file, you may not have access to it. You might need to make a copy of it. So anyway, I'm saving this into my folder. I'm going to save it as CV1 Start, and I'll click Save. And now if you look up on the top of the screen, you'll see the name of that file up at the top. And we're ready to start drawing a floor. So I'm going to go to the Architecture tab, and I'm going to move over until I'm over the Floor tool. I'm going to right-click on that. Left click on that and grab the floor architectural tool. And now I'm ready to start drawing because this palette up here is turned green. And it automatically has selected a floor system for us, but you may want to change that. Right now it's a generic 12-inch, and that's really fine. I'm going to leave it that way, but you could select any floor type that you wanted to build. We want to make sure that we're building on level 1, and I'll show you when we get to a 3D view what is meant by level 1 for our construction. It's another way of saying the first floor. So once we are in this drawing environment, we have a bunch of tools over here. We can draw lines, polygons, curve shapes, and the one I'm going to grab right away is the rectangle tool. And I'm just going to draw a shape and then click off of it. And I didn't need to click off of it because I'm going to get another shape. And then let me just make a box around this, and I'm going to hit delete. And I want to resize this shape. So right now, all I do is select any one line. I want to make this 100 feet, so I'm going to click on the dimension. It's going to become active, and I'm just going to type in 100 and return. I'll grab this other line here, and I'm going to scroll out with my center scroll button, and I'm going to make this 170 feet. So our site is 170 feet by 100 feet deep. Now, one other thing I want to do before we close it off is I want to put little fillets on the front of this. Fillets are little radiuses, as if this was the sidewalk and this is a curb before we go down to the road level. So I'm going to grab another tool up here. Now, instead of the rectangle, I'm going to grab the fillet tool. And if you roll over this, it'll actually give you a little indication of how that tool works. Once I've selected it, I just need to touch the two surfaces and then pull off until I generate a radius. And I'll do that again. And I'm left clicking here. So click, and pull off. And you'll notice I didn't concern myself with what the radius was because I'm going to go back and I'm going to select that. And I'm going to make these 6-foot radiuses. And it's very easy to make this adjustment. So that's one of the techniques I use with the radius tool. All right, and so I'm pretty happy with that, and I'm going to click complete. That blue is an indication that it's a completed shape. I want to actually move it into the center, so I'm going to highlight it, and I'm going to grab it. And I'm just going to grab it and use the move tool. So I use the move tool up here, selected the object, and I'm just going to drag it into position here. And the reason for that, and I'll line this up on the screen by typing ZE. That's called zoom extents. So I'm lined up on those little tick marks. I'm off a little bit, but that's really not that critical. But I can just make that adjustment if I want. So I want to make it, I'll just move it over, let's say, maybe that amount. Looks like I'll never get it perfect. The These tick marks should be outside of where you want to see your object because these are like cameras that are going to show your elevations. This is not going to be an issue for us in this project, but one of the ways I can do is just select all of that and grab the move button and then just pull this back. And I want to keep it I want to keep that horizontal marker showing. And I'll do the same thing over here. Oops, I have to go, from left to right in order to select that without selecting other things. And then I'll just slide this off. Okay, so now let's take a look at what we've constructed in a 3D view. So I'm going to go up to View, and I have a chance to create that view by just clicking on this doghouse or this little tiny icon of a house. So I'm going to double click on that, and now I'm in a 3D view. And you'll see here we have level 1 and level 2. Those are distances going up vertically. And it's a little hard to tell, but if I hold down the shift button in the center mouse wheel, I can rotate this down so that you can see that in fact this level 1 is right at the top of the floor that we've created, which is going to serve as our sidewalk in the project. I'm going to get back to the view I originally had by going up to this navigation tool and just clicking on the top corner, and it'll automatically set us up. And I think we're ready to start making a building. We'll do that in the future clip.